again. You know him as the Drunken Grape wine consultant, but this time around we're doing part 2 of discussing beer, and in particular beer here in Canada and the explosion of craft breweries. We're joined by Rob Statham. Rob, welcome back to the show.
Hey, thank you.
Great to have you here.
Absolutely.
I can smell the aroma.
I know, and we're relatively young when it comes to beer wine production here in Canada.
We are.
But we did have an explosion in that craft brewery. When did that all begin?
1982 is really the fundamental date.
Okay.
July of 1982. Going to British Columbia in Vancouver, it was John Mitchell and Frank Appleton that launched Horseshoe Bay Brewery.
Okay.
And it was discontent and discord over Carling at the time. I believe it was Mitchell's brew pub or his restaurant where the taps were held up for weeks without supply due to a strike. And that was back in 1979, which spurred his interest to start looking at the British ale model.
I love this story because, yeah, he decided, you know what, I'm going to
I've
make
had enough.
my own brewery, my own
Screw this.
microbrewery.
Yep.
And they did it out of an old dairy farm, I
Yeah,
think?
they took dairy equipment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
Amazing,
cool.
amazing.
And then he thought he may be lucky if he'd sell like 1 keg or something. He sold like 7 or something.
first day.
Yeah,
Right.
unbelievable.
So yeah, I mean, we've really seen since that point in time an explosion. For the first 5 years after that, about 47 or 48 breweries popped up. Now, today, we're looking at well over 300, with most of them concentrated in British Columbia, Quebec, or Ontario.
Right.
And we've seen double-digit growth since the year 2000 into the craft beer industry. In fact, last year's data, I believe the beer industry retracted as a whole by 6%, but craft beer gained 7% at that time.
I'm so glad to see that.
So what is it that's changed? Because I had always understood that there was some sort of legislative framework that was stopping these small breweries, and it was basically coming down from the big guys.
Yeah, there was definitely a bit of lobbying. There was definitely a bit of pressure on governments to hold back. For a long period of time, brew pubs were outlawed. And this
Right.
goes back from before Prohibition. And of course,
Right.
it was in the interest of the big three that dominated and owned 96% of the market to do so and hold it that way.
Right.
And it is great that we're seeing the small breweries really pick up speed.
Yeah, the doors are opening for
Absolutely.
them
They
now,
really
right?
are,
They're
yeah.
starting to allow them into the LCBO.
yeah.
Beer stores are now opening up a little bit too. What about, you know, we hear a lot about wine sommeliers. Is there an equivalent
Yes.
to wine and beer?
We have a Canadian program called Prud'homme, which started in 2009. Roger Midegg's the founder of it.
Okay.
He is a professor at the renowned School of Hospitality at Humber College. And Roger has 2.5 decades of experience, high-level experience in the beer industry. And I think what set this off was he was in charge back in 2001 when he worked for Labatt in the Interbrew. He was a national sales manager. He was asked to put together a beer school. And with that came all the training. His
I
passion
love this
came into
Roger
it with,
guy.
really,
Beer school.
Beer school.
Way to
You know
go,
what
Roger.
Canada needs? Beer
The beer
school.
school.
And in
of course.
2005, he launched his own company called Thirst for Knowledge,
Okay.
which was Canada's premier beer school. So it's a beer academy, beer training, headquartered predominantly in Toronto, which led to the development of Prud'homme in 2009, which is a multi-level beer education system.
Cool.
And unlike Cicerone, which is the big program in the States, it started in 2007. It's interesting that they started all kind of around the same
Yeah.
time. This one is, in the Cicerone, they give you a syllabus and tell you to learn it on your own, which makes it a lot less interactive, and in my opinion,
Right.
a lot less fun.
Agreed.
And in this one, in fact, Roger has it now in French and English. There's over 7,000 graduates. I think he's got
Amazing.
about 14 beer sommeliers at the level 3. On level 1, which is the beer enthusiast course. So even if you're an aficionado
would
and you
be
just
us.
love
Oh, yeah.
beer,
Yeah. I'm
that's me
on
right
it.
now, actually.
Yeah.
But I mean, at that level, you learn the history of beer, pouring techniques. You get into the styles of beer, a bit of the history of beer, into greater detail. It's a wonderful course. It's
It is
awesome.
amazing
Fantastic.
too. You mentioned they techniques even. They
Yes.
really take it serious.
And
I was at the
draft
beer
techniques,
market.
yeah.
And they were training somebody, and you have to specifically pour. The head has to be a certain height, depending on the type of beer.
The
It
tap
depends
can't
on
touch the glass.
Yeah.
It has to be poured on an angle.
And does
It's
the beer have
fascinating.
to be a certain temperature as well?
Yes,
Because,
you're
like,
looking at
Guinness
lagers
is
like this
warmer
one.
and-
Yeah,
which
what
is
have you brought
the
here? What is
original,
this?
the original Pilsner Urquell from Bohemia, 1842, the town of Pilsen, now the Czech Republic.
original.
You're looking at something that's got a lot of cereal notes
like
in it,
that.
citrus notes in it,
Doesn't
very effervescent.
smell anything like export or...
Thankfully.
No, it's a medium beer with a bit of hops to it.
What is the beer festival in Gatineau and in Ottawa? Their tagline
Oh,
was
nice, yeah.
"Drink less, drink better."
I
And
think
it's so
Roger would
true.
agree. I think Roger would agree.
That's a great
Right?
tagline,
Yeah.
yeah.
Honestly,
Yeah.
because there's just as much passion being put into
Absolutely.
these craft brews
Yes.
as there are in winemaking.
True.
Right?
Yep.
True, and that's really what Roger brought into Canada. We look at it is this systematic training where you can become a beer sommelier now.
Right.
Starting for as little as $200. I think in my first wine course it was $1,000. So if you take
Wow.
a comparison, just to the cost differential, and something that really can get somebody up to speed, especially in the industry.
We have to describe your title to everybody at
Oh,
home.
yes.
The Drunken Grape. I love the title, and so you've sort of branched off and you're doing your own thing now.
I am.
Is that right?
Yes, this is a media and events-based company. On
Okay.
the event side, I have an event in the planning. It's a fitness event, so it's a wine and fitness event coming up.
Wine and
where
fitness.
a portion of
As
it,
you know.
I know.
Why?
'Cause,
Julie's in the kitchen going, yes! It's
Well, a
about
portion-
time we
We're
combine
looking at
these.
contributing a portion to charity at each and every
Okay.
one of these
Yeah.
events, because I think you got to
Good
give
for
back to
you.
grow. It's very important.
Absolutely.
And on the media side, I guess coming out in appearances like this, talking about the Canadian marketplace. I mean,
I love
we
it.
may
Good
go
for
back
you.
into the international bit, but there's always a passion about home.
And I remember
For
you
sure.
sent me a note and said, "What do you think of the Drunken Grape?"
I
just like
did.
to see-
Perfect.
I did.
I couldn't believe nobody took it.
I actually have
Already.
to credit that with my stepmother over a
Oh, yeah?
Thanksgiving dinner.
Oh,
Nice.
good for her.
I like
The
it.
Drunken Grape. We laughed, and I was like, that's a pretty good
I
name.
like that
Absolutely,
name.
yeah.
And people can get in touch with you, thedrunkengrape.ca or Rob at thedrunkengrape.ca. Rob, always a pleasure having
Excellent.
you.
Thank you for
so
having
much
me.
for being here. Next up is the All Saints School segment. That's what I meant. I knew Rob was coming. I was just teasing you at home. We'll be back with them right after this.